Hi everyone, this is Meenakshi Ramesh from tapawaytohealing.com. Welcome to the April series of videos. This series of videos, it's been created to educate, empower, and inspire all of you. So I call it the Educate, Empower, Inspire series of videos. So today I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Carrie Bailey. I hope I'm saying the name correctly, Carrie.
Correct. Yeah, you did
And
it.
yes, and she's a nutritionist. I want to introduce you to all of you, to my audience. We are going to be talking about gut health in the treatment of autism and neurodiverse individuals. So before we jump into the conversation slash interview, I'll quickly read Carrie's bio. Carrie Bailey is a highly skilled and compassionate certified functional nutritionist with more than a decade of experience helping hundreds of people overcome anxiety, depression, and other weird mystery symptoms. Carrie has a deep and unique understanding of the intricate connection between nutrition and emotional well being. And she's dedicated to helping clients heal anxiety and depression through a highly personalized dietary and supplement approach that breaks conventional wisdom and provides clients with an extraordinary ability to get rid of their symptoms. Whether you're seeking to enhance your own mental health or support others on their healing journey, Carrie Bailey is your go to resource for cutting edge, evidence based nutrition information and inspiration. Join us as we uncover the powerful connection between nutrition and well being and discover actionable steps to cultivate a healthier mind and body. So, Carrie, that was a very comprehensive bio. It speaks about the work that you've done in the past, and it speaks about the work that you continue to do, helping clients heal from anxiety and depression. Um, so, as you know, autism has been it's been more and more more and more people, children are getting diagnosed and entering the system in the last 2 decades or so, including my son who was diagnosed in the year 2004. So I've been on this journey of healing gut health and healing myself, healing my gut and helping my son heal his and my family as such. One thing I found when we dived deep into healing the gut was our lifestyle changed, our choices changed, and as a family, we began to embrace certain changes in terms of making food choices and basically navigating this whole system of helping our son heal and helping all of us heal. So with that said, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the connection between the brain and the gut.
Okay, awesome. I'd love to. Well, first, let me say thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk to your people. So I'm really excited to talk about gut health. So the gut-brain connection is so interesting. When you say that, I think of there's a lot of different ways to look at it. The first thing that pops in my head is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, if you're familiar with it, is like the biggest nerve in our body, and it runs from our head, cranial nerve, and it runs all the way through to all of our organs in our body. And it controls them. It controls our heart, it controls our intestines, our stomach, everything. And it controls secretions and things like that. And so I think of the vagus nerve as controlling things. And then the other thing I think about is that it is also part of the nervous system, right? And so our nervous system has to be calm, right? So when we are eating our food, we must be in a state of rest and digest and relaxation, right? If we just got in a fight with a loved one or just almost got in a car accident, that's not the time to rest and digest, right? That's the time to you really need to calm yourself down, right? So that's the first thing I think of. The other thing I think about is that even when you think about food, right? Just the thought of food. Right now, if I tell you I'm holding juicy, fresh lemon, right? You can almost smell it and you probably start salivating, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
your brain starting to release the enzymes in your mouth to chew your food. And then, of course, we have to chew really well, not in a state of stress, chew really well, and then it moves down into the digestive system. So those are some of the things that I think about the gut-brain connection. Did you have any more questions specific to that, or?
So, in other words, like I have a question popped in my mind as you were talking about the vagus nerve and
I
how,
love that.
yeah. So how, when you think about food, we begin to salivate. So, in other words, the message that I got from your, when as you were sharing about this is to start eating mindfully as we make the
Yes.
food choices. One part is making the right food choice that suits your, that's good for our health, and the other part is just really slowing down and eating mindfully. That's what came into my mind.
Yes.
So yes, yeah,
That's
yes,
beautiful.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
The
yeah.
other thing about the gut brain connection is that the brain, the vagus nerve is a nerve. And so it is responsible for the peristalsis, right? So from the time you swallow that food, as it takes it, your peristalsis takes it down your esophagus into your stomach and through your digestive system. And so if that vagus nerve is not strong, right? It's not going to have that peristaltic action to move things in. And then if the food stays in the stomach or the digestive system too long, it could attract pathogens, right? It's going to attract more unhealthy bacteria. Also, if it could go too fast for some reason. Usually it's that your body wants to get rid of something in your body, that the peristalsis will go fast. And the other thing I want to talk about related to the vagus nerve and the gut brain connection is that the nerves in the digestive system can be tender, can be inflamed for a number of reasons. So we know in the autistic community, amongst everyone, it's not just the autistic community, it's everyone. We know that there's a major factor of toxins, specifically mercury. And mercury can get in there and interfere with the neurotransmitters and the communication between the brain and the gut. And so it might not be working optimally. It might go offline. Things can happen between the brain and the gut, even though it's supposed to be super hot, super fast. And so when those nerves in the digestive system get sensitive, again, it could be the stomach, it could be the small intestines, it could be even the colon. When those nerves are tender, if something hits it, let's say you ate cruciferous veggies, they're great for you, but they can also be really tough, right? They're really hard and they require a lot of chewing, a lot of stomach acid, and a lot of and if those aren't broken down, they can scrape the lining, right, and those nerves. And so that could cause digestive pain, for instance. Trying to think of what else, the nervous system. And so you might find that certain foods trigger that you're like, oh, I just don't do good with cruciferous veggies, right? So then maybe it's like, maybe we need to not eat raw, maybe we need to eat cooked. There's a lot of different things I think about related to the gut brain connection related to that. Yeah.
Right. So before I go into the next question, because you talked about vagus nerve, do you also recommend some exercises to your clients about I see on YouTube that there are exercises to stimulate the vagus nerve. Do you recommend that as well to your clients?
I haven't really. It's so tricky because in the population that I see, which is I don't know, I shouldn't even describe that because it's getting wider and wider right now. But people have more issues with inflamed nerves, right? So those nerves, and I was going to talk a little bit about that. The thing that inflames nerves, in addition to toxins, is pathogens. And we can talk about this more as we go into the gut, but that's something that we all have. It's just the load is bigger in someone with more symptoms, right? So the more symptoms you have, the more either unwanted bacteria, viruses, different things that are in there that can cause problems. And so those are actually, the viruses is actually what inflames the lining of the gut. So as an example, like, so if you take someone who's autistic, I wouldn't necessarily just assume, okay, you're autistic, you have these issues, right? Because you could be autistic, but you could also have fatigue. You could also have other symptoms that would educate me as a practitioner about what's going on in your body, right? Like what pathogens and viruses and other things do you have that we need to address in order to help your digestive system. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes, yes. There's and that makes a lot of sense. There is really no one size fits all. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, Carrie. My next question is, so when we talk about gut health, is it always a good idea to look into food allergies and sensitivities?
That's
Because
another great question. I actually, I don't even know the prices of gut sensitivity, food sensitivity tests, but my challenge with them is that all tests are true but partial, right? Especially when it comes to any kind of function, any test, to be honest, is true but partial. And so it's a big investment to do that. And what I find to be more successful is to just take out all of the there's sort of like a short list of inflammatory foods. There's a longer list, right? So again, depending on the symptoms that you have, I might just pull out everything, see how you do, and heal it, right? Because we just know that we know gluten, we know dairy, we know eggs, soy, corn, some fermented foods can be problematic, vinegars, any additives, which is pretty much almost everything in your condiments, whether it's vinegars or citric acid or MSG. So there's a lot of additives in food. So I like to just kind of go in and just take out everything, to be honest, as much as possible, and then see how someone responds. That might be unique to me, to be honest, because I'm very hands-on. As a practitioner, I'm like, okay, let's try this. Let's get back to me in 2 weeks, or, message me in the chat. How's that going? Okay, now next message me and, how's this going? We're going to constantly tweak things, right? And so it's a big ask, because we're asking you to remove a lot of things that, like you said, is huge in our environment. Like gluten is everywhere. So eating out at a restaurant becomes really challenging.
Right.
For sure. So I like to just pull everything out, to be honest.
Right. And as you were saying that pull everything out, I can almost visualize my gut healing, or what if being rest for my digestive system and my gut. That's what was going on in my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah. I know, as you said, it's a big ask, but I think it's the simplest and easiest way to get started. I think if someone chooses to be on a gut health, healing their gut journey. So yeah, I agree with you.
It's just you have to think about a whole new way of eating, right? It really is. And that's the biggest challenge, to be honest, is that people are so tied to their, like, I'm Italian, I can't imagine not having wine, or, they're tied to their heritage. They're tied to their cultures of certain ways of eating. And so it can be really, really challenging, but there are creative ways that you can bring in, like spices are amazing. I have no problem with any spices. I mean, again, unless a person has a problem with a spice, like I love to bring in spices, tons of fruits and vegetables. But once you learn, like, okay, here's the foods we want to focus on, right? Plants, fruits, vegetables. I feel like every keto, paleo, all those things exclude, well, paleo doesn't, but most of the trendy diets exclude fruits and vegetables. It's like everyone's trying to avoid them, especially fruits. I feel like fruits are so important and people don't understand it, but I think it causes reactions with people when they combine it with other things, and so they just pull it out instead of using a new way of eating.
Yeah, I agree. So since I know you spoke about gluten, but when we started our journey with our son, we put him on the GFCF diet, and we did the food allergy and sensitive test. And I still remember I took the test results to my son's pediatrician, and then she said, like, she just laughed at me and she asked, "Oh, okay, so what can he eat then?"
Yes.
Because it's pretty much everything that we eat is listed here. So
yes.
Yeah, so he was on the diet for quite some time. He's not on, we're not very strict with him anymore. Um, so just using my son as an example, I personally felt that we gave the time for his gut to heal, and we started this early on. Maybe we would have been on it for like 5 6 years. Very diligent, very strict we used to be, and we still make sure that we eat a very healthy balanced diet, optimally balanced diet. But then once in a while to have a scoop of ice cream or a pizza is like we always let him have. But I still feel it removing the gluten and the dairy is helpful for all of us. I've tried it myself, and I felt really good, especially the dairy. More than the gluten, I feel I do really good when I completely eliminate dairy. And so I just what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. Oh, if you're not eating dairy, you're not getting your calcium. And that's just not true. There's just all the calcium that you need is in your leafy greens and your fruits and vegetables. So all the nutrients that you need completely are in fruits and vegetables and herbs, right? Now, you can't just eat salad all day, 3 days a week. You need some starchy carbohydrates in there. That's what's going to fill you up, and that's what's going to make you feel full. But yeah, there's so many gluten and dairy, no one needs it, to be honest, right? And as much as I love eggs, I've pulled eggs out and I feel a lot better. And so I've found the same thing with most clients. And eggs are like most of the things that I pull up come up on the food sensitivity test anyway, which is telling. It's like, okay, well, if everybody's reacting to these, and that may have been what started the elimination diet in the first place. Yeah, we just need to be eating more fruits and vegetables.
Right. Yeah. And which brings me to the question of having there is a big difference between food allergies and food sensitivities, right?
Correct.
Food allergy is something that where we have like a shock. Yes. And sensitivities can eventually contribute to has maybe a cumulative effect eventually on our gut and our digestive system, I feel, with my limited understanding. Yeah.
One way to think of it is that you're actually, in our bodies, again, we have these healthy bacteria and unhealthy bacteria, or unbeneficial. I don't like to say good and bad, but unbeneficial bacteria, viruses. Those things love gluten and dairy. So that's why if you don't want to grow them, if you stay, your whole life gluten and dairy free, and then again, increasing the healthy bacteria in your gut is really what they eat is fruits and vegetables. So I know people are always like, what about soluble fiber and all this fiber? And I'm like, they just like the fruits and vegetables, everything that you give them. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because that's when we have those the sugar cravings, and it tells a lot about our gut, I think. And even with with the oral dental health and oral hygiene, I feel when we do practice good dental hygiene, our cravings begin to reduce. And so my next question would be like, if you can talk a little bit about, I know testing it's not only expensive. I feel it's a big it's a very long route to take. Like you kind of get attached to the tests, and you feel okay, I have to so it stresses you out. So when clients come to you, so you basically start them on this elimination diet, and then is that how you get started?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And sort of speaking of gut health, so one of the things that I like to bring in, and we'll talk, I know one of your questions is about digestive enzymes, is celery juice. So kind of going backwards, I myself for 20 plus years working with my clients, I tried digestive enzymes and they didn't, you pull them out and they don't work. So it's like, they're not shifting the dial. So what I want to do is, my goal, and I think that's all of my clients' goal, is to heal. So if you want to heal, then how can we give the body what it needs to do the things that it needs to do? And so that's why I like to bring in celery juice as a digestive enzyme as a first step. And again, as I said, like, everybody has pathogens, and when I say pathogens, that would include parasites potentially, but I actually see less parasites now, and I see more signs and symptoms of viruses or unproductive bacteria, to be honest. And I don't know if we just haven't discovered in medical research and studying that maybe those pathogens are there for a reason, right? Kind of like they already know this about Candida. Like, Candida is there. The killing off Candida doesn't make sense because it's there to balance something else. And so you have to figure out what that something else is. Like, why is that Candida there? Why is it trying to create balance in your body? Because your body wants to heal. It wants to be balanced. And so I went around the block for this funny story that I wanted to tell you, is that I put a client on celery juice, and then basically she started passing worms. So the celery juice helped clean out the liver. It does so many things. It helps build your digestive system, all your digestive enzymes, because there's a lot of enzymes in your stomach, not just HCl, right? There's a lot of things in there. And so the celery juice helps increase those digestive enzyme. But for her, and again, I don't know where exactly these worms were living. They could have been in her liver, because the celery juice also cleans out your liver. But she started passing worms, and I was like, that's great. And then we actually ran a stool test afterwards. That's what she wanted to do. So we ran a stool test, and it really didn't come up with anything. So, and again, it goes back to like true but partial. It's like, well, let's look at the signs and symptoms. If you're having digestive issues, then, still, like, what else could it be? Or how can we shift the food and the supplements? I like to kill things with herbs. So, I know I sort of went around the block, but
No, this is very very motivating for people to try this, and we drink celery juice on a regular basis, and I love it. Like, my son loves it. Our family loves celery juice. We do it more from spring to fall, and we kind of get lazy during the winter months.
It's hard because it does this funny thing. It sort of makes you cold, and depending on how much you drink of it. But I find it to be really healing. So.
And how much do you recommend? How much celery juice do you recommend?
It's funny. It depends on the person coming to me, because I have a lot of sensitive people whose nervous systems are sensitive, or they're very toxic. Their livers are very toxic. So you might have to start lower, but I kind of aim for the middle, unless I don't otherwise. So I usually aim for 2 cups or 16 ounces.
16 ounces. Okay.
Yeah, right now I drink 4 cups every morning. And that's just what works for me. Right. And some of my clients, I'd have to take them that high or higher, to be honest. So it just depends on what's going on. And it's amazing how, because, I think of these foods as a dial, or it's really an herb, right, that you're extracting. And I think of it as a dial. So you start with 2 cups. What happens when you go to 3 cups and 4 cups? Like, can you feel that difference? And people say they can. They're like, oh, okay, that was a little too much, right, Carrie? They're like, there's a little too much that I needed to go to the bathroom too urgently. So I go, okay, let's back it up to 2 cups.
Right. Yeah, our body is constantly, letting us know what we can and what we cannot handle. Yeah. I'm so glad you talked about celery juice. I think a lot of people have. People know about it, but then it's also, again, it takes some work making the juice, and it's work, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
So where I am. And again, talking about supplements, what are your thoughts on giving supplements to support gut health?
Yeah. And again, I think of supplements, my approach to supplements is generally global, right? I don't necessarily go this supplement for this and this supplement for this. I mean, sometimes people want to understand it, and I try to translate it that way, but there are foundational supplements that our nervous system needs, like B vitamins, especially B12 and magnesium. right? And so it depends on what's going on. Like, how is the immune system? Like, usually the immune system needs some support. Most people are pretty deficient in zinc. There's not a lot of zinc in our foods and our soils these days. Same with magnesium. So I would usually put in some zinc. And then vitamin C. And now vitamin C is tricky because it's generally made of ascorbic acid. Sorry, it's made with ascorbic acid, which is made with corn. So as an allergen, a major allergen, we want to pull that out. And it's really hard. It's challenging to find vitamin C without that. And it's hard to put in enough, camu camu or acerola cherry or rose hips to really get the vitamin C that you need. And that's part of why I'm like, let's eat more fruits and vegetables, because then we're getting the most bioavailable. And then we're beefing with even more vitamins.
You might as well eat an orange or lemon, have lemon water.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, easy and natural ways to get the vitamin C in.
Yes.
So it's good that I'm glad you shared that that you don't go with just supplements, giving supplements. Okay, you have this problem, you have the supplement, because I myself, I'm a supplement junkie, because with my son we have tried everything, but now we're just limited to very few supplements. And as we are trying to navigate this journey, we are learning something new every day. So thank you for sharing that. And could you talk a little bit about probiotics? That was my next question.
I feel like there's so much out there. Probiotics are expensive. Again, this is one of those things that I've used probiotics for years, and it's never healed my gut, to be totally honest and candid, right? It's a little bit like fermented foods, right? So they can be triggering. Fermented foods can be triggering if you're not good at converting your like glutamate to glutamine. But putting in, and I was talking about this a little bit before, the bacteria, the healthy, productive bacteria in our gut, they want fruits and vegetables. They don't want lactobacillus, right? Just putting in other bacteria, it's not like it's not going to kill the bad bacteria. I don't know how it'll affect the good bacteria, but it doesn't kill anything. You're putting something else in which would shift the whole balance, but I don't know that it does anything after trying it for years. So I'm not a big fan of probiotics, to be honest.
Okay.
So let me get, since we are talking about gut health and you asked me that, I didn't really answer your earlier question about, let's talk about some gut specific. Would you like to talk about some gut specific?
Yes, of course. Yes. Anything.
Again, this is probably, and I like to put these in after the B vitamins, because I want to make sure that you're converting your glutamate to glutamine, and that's not, you're not going to have a problem there. But I would put in L-glutamine is really good for healing the gut. It's the most abundant amino acid in the body, and it's really good for healing the lining of the gut. Some other really gut things that are important for like bile flow are things like taurine. I really like taurine for bile flow. What else? Things like choline and magnesium, all of those are really good for gut health. And then other than that, there's just more like herbs that I might bring in to start killing things. But again, I don't necessarily like to do that until I know that there's a need for it. But there's some good herbs out there like golden seal to help kill things, or oil of oregano. When you know that there's something that needs to be killed.
Right. And kids on the spectrum who have digestive issues, I've been on part of several forums when we started, helping our son with, in this biomedical journey. So either they'll have a lot of diarrhea, some of the kids, and or they'll be on the other end, like they'll be so very constipated. So from what you're saying, like it totally depends on the symptoms that the client shows up with, right? Like what kind of symptoms they have, their sleep, and then maybe the body weight, absorption, so many factors to be considered. And I'm glad you talked about digestive enzymes and probiotics, because that's just sometimes, in this journey, people feel that that's including myself, that's kind of like the golden wand or the magic wand that's going to, heal the gut and solve all the problems. And from what you're sharing, it's again coming back again and again and again, coming back to the food, the food choices and the diet modifications that we can make.
And it's true. Sometimes when you put a probiotic in, depending on the environment, you put a probiotic in and you might feel an effect. It might feel like it's working, right? Sort of like when you put magnesium citrate in, if you're constipated, it's going to make you poop, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for us, or, you know what I mean? I think sometimes supplements can be sort of good and bad. And that's why I always try to stay away from like multivitamins and mixed things. Right. Because there's probably things that you need in it, things you don't need in it, right? Like what's causing you good, what's causing you harm.
Right, yeah. Right.
Oh, the other thing, sorry to interrupt you. I was going to tell you about, I can't believe I didn't think of this, but aloe vera. Aloe vera, I really like to bring that in for gut health.
Okay.
Either
in the form of a juice or like aloe vera juice.
Yeah, you can actually get the aloe vera plant, the leaf in the grocery store. I've seen it in Sprouts, Whole Foods. You can get the leaf and you want to cut it open and get the gel out. You can also buy in the freezer section. There's a food company called Pitaya Foods that makes little cubes of aloe vera gel. And what's nice about it, there's no citric acid. It's not preserved. It's really, the fresher you can eat the aloe vera, the better. It's a little bit bitter when you eat it, so you might want to put it in a smoothie or something. But that's really, really gut healing. And that's tricky because it's not necessarily a supplement, right? But you sort of use it. I like to use it therapeutically, sort of like celery juice, right? Like it's a food. It's not a supplement, but I use it therapeutically.
It's natural and it's plant-based, so yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, aloe vera juice. Yeah, I've tried that as well. So, but I've never tried the fresh aloe vera gel. I have to try it. Yeah, yeah.
Try it. It's a little tricky because you got to score it open and it's kind of slimy and goopy and it's a little bit messy. That's why I like the freezer section kind better. But yeah.
Yeah, save some time as well. Yeah. Awesome. So you can just please feel free to share any thoughts, any final thoughts, and the tips that can be helpful for parents and caregivers. And then you can also share about your free gift, your website, and how people can contact you. Please feel free to share everything. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm trying to think if there's any last things I wanted to add. It's so tricky, right? Again, because we're talking in generalizations, right? And it's always better to speak to things. Yeah, I would say, definitely if there's constipation, that's really one of the first things. If someone comes to me and they're not pooping every single day, that is something that we're going to work on every single day. I want you. And usually it's dehydration, a combination of dehydration, combination of too much unhealthy bacteria, but can also be peristalsis too. So you have to look at it. But to me, it's a sign of toxification. So we want to definitely get you pooping every single day. That's really important. And again, those aloe vera and some of the celery juice is amazing, honestly, for it. And the aloe vera, like all those things would be amazing for it. That's about all I can think about related to that. And if people are interested in getting in touch with me, probably the best way is I'd like to offer a free gift to your audience. And it's my anxiety and depression recovery guide. And it's got tips and tricks and videos and all kinds of information to get you started. So if you haven't gone gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, etc., that's a great place to start to get some tips. And it directs you to some recipes to figure out what the healthy foods are that you should be bringing in. And you can get to that at www.anxietydepressionrecovery.com. And that's really the best way to get in touch with me. I also do have a YouTube channel. I don't have that. I can give you the URL if you want, and then you can.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. I will make sure that I put your website and your YouTube channel in the description. so that people can have access to it. And please watch Carrie's YouTube videos. They're very, very informative, packed with information. And if you ever need some support, please contact Carrie. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you, because you help clients who have to help them heal from depression and anxiety. Do you see a lot of gut issues in your clients?
Yes.
I'm assuming yes.
Almost everyone. Nobody has perfect gut health. Okay. Meenakshi, everyone, even if it's just a little bloating or they'll say they poop every day, but the form tells me like it's little rabbit pellets. Like that tells me there's dehydration, right? So almost everybody has something. Not too many people are perfect. So, but there's information in all of that, right? Even the bad and the ugly.
Okay. And again, could you talk a little bit about water, the intake of water and vitamin D? Those are the two things I wanted to ask you also.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So vitamin D, we'll start there. It definitely goes back to the liver because what I find is that our livers aren't good at converting it, right? So the sun is supposed to hit your hand, and then it goes, I can't remember if it goes to your kidneys or your liver first, but it's not, but there's only one way we measure, right? So we don't really have good measurements for vitamin D. But my favorite way is to get out at solar noon, ideally, and get some sun on your skin, but also cleaning out your liver, which would entail like basically going on a low fat diet. And this will segue us into hydration. So right now, what I find is that most people sort of swung. If like back in the day, you remember it was the low fat, remember the low fat days, and then it was high sugar, and everybody swung the other way. And they're like, no, fat's good. Everybody help yourself to fat. And now I find that people are eating too much fat. And the problem with that, and even you could be even a vegan and be eating too much fat, too many nuts and seeds, for instance. So you could be a high fat vegan. So when there's too much fat in the bloodstream, then it thickens the blood. And this makes it hard for the liver to do its job of cleaning your blood and getting the nutrients in to get to your body parts, right? So fat in the blood also dehydrates you. And so, because if there's too much fat and it thickens the blood, there's no room for the water, the hydration. So you could be drinking a gallon a day, but it might not be getting into the cells. And also it needs those nutrients and minerals that it also might not have room for because of all the fat. And so having enough water, and again, more reason for fruits and vegetables, because they are a lot of water, but they're also followed up with all the nutrients and chemicals, that we need to get it into the cell. And so drinking, obviously, clean water as much as possible. But again, also thinning out, not eating so much fat, even healthy fat, right? Even your grass-fed butter and your ghee, minimizing those as much as possible. My aunt came over the other day, and I made her, she's 70 years old. And so I said, I wanted to make her a nice healthy dinner. And so I actually made her a whole dinner and dessert, everything, birthday dinner without any fat. So yeah, I think she was pretty impressed, because we rely on fat for flavor, right? So it does take a little bit of adjusting with your taste buds, but it can be done in a nourishing way.
This has been great, Carrie. Like loads of information, and thank you so much for taking the time and sharing this information. I'm sure it's going to be a refresher for many, but again, a lot of new information was also shared. So I hope everyone watches this video and benefits from this. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.